You were your parents' least favorite, so they sold you off in a deal to the devil. Living with the devil was better than living with your family. You meet your siblings several years after being sold off. You realized you got the better end of the deal. The midnight wind howled in time to the chanting, whistling around the altar and blowing out the candles placed around the circle. As each went out, the moon, which had been hidden behind the thick dark storm clouds, began to reveal itself, replacing the candlelight with something dimmer and more silvery, something less connected to the waking world. The smoke from the extinguished candles still rose swirling into the wind, even thicker and blacker, until the only things in the world seemed to be the witch, the moon far above, and the altar, ready with its sacrifice. The witch, a gaunt figure dressed in tattered dark robes, drew forth a curved and blackened dagger, never ceasing guttural chant of the ritual. Her voice rose to a frenzied pitch as she slashed the dagger across her palm, blood spraying over the bundle on the altar. The last word was a name, and as she shrieked the final cursed syllable of the rite, the world went silent. The wind had stopped. High above, the silvery moonlight faded to red. The summons had been heard. The ground behind the altar cracked, and a figure began to emerge in the red-tinged darkness. Its silhouette was simple, a large man-shaped shadow, no horns or tails or tendrils. Perhaps there was no need for a frightening visage. The witch knew exactly what she was summoning. Belandromic the Defiler, I have called you forth in the traditional ways, at a crossroad grave at midnight, to barter. I bring an offering for the traditional deal, a sacrifice of silver and blood for power. I offer a pact. But just as she began the rehearsed speech, the memorized words, the demon broke the script, interrupting the ceremony. Ursula? Is that you? The creature had a surprisingly human voice. No matter. But it knew her name, and that was bad. She had never summoned it before. No stopping now. The witch Ursula tried again. My name is of no importance. But yours is Belandromic, the demon lord of the harsh promise. You were said to once delight in such pacts with mortals. Will you hear me out? Oh, I'm not Bill. I've been looking for a summoning to this part of the world, and Bill offered to let me take his place next time he heard someone making a call. Ursula, it's me, it's Morgan. She saw a hint now of some demon plot, smelled trickery in the air. Ursula had known a Morgan once, decades ago. But her brother had been gone these last 20 years, and had still been child when he died. The figure slowly becoming clearer in the moonlight before her was a grown man. A man who looked disconcertingly familiar. You've picked up witchcraft since I last saw you. Carrying on the family trade, I see. What did the demon know, and what was it trying to find out? What was safe to say? Yes, I found this ritual, among others in the forbidden tomes of my family's ancestral library. As my ancient ancestors once turned to black magic to secure their fortunes in dark times, so have I. Perhaps you were summoned once centuries ago by some long-lost Ursula I am descended from. No, Ursula, the demon shook his head, I know you were young, but you should remember a much smaller house before I left. Whatever manor with an ancestral library you grew up in, I can guarantee the book with the summoning ritual you just used wasn't in it originally. Our parents put it there. Ursula struggled to make this make sense. They had inherited the house from a very distant relative, someone who died suddenly when she was a child. But even if the demon knew that, why bring it up? What was the scheme? Before she could respond, the demon walked up to the altar, it looked down at the sacrifice, and spoke. Well, no matter what they told you, you seem to be following their footsteps quite handily. What's his name? The demon's voice was suddenly cold. He lifted the sacrifice, the baby off the altar. I never named it, she meant to say. It was an accident, and even if I wanted to, I can't keep it. No one will marry me now. Nicholas, she said instead, her tongue betraying her. The demon looked down at Nicholas, still asleep, and at her. He's yours, I take it? The demon said, I suppose the book must call for that specifically. He didn't say anything else, but the tone of distaste in his words was clear enough that he didn't need to. Shame and fear coursed through her, but it was anger that drove her to speak. What kind of demon judges a witch? You're the one who takes the bargain. Do you think I chose for it to come to this? I need power, and there's no other option. The people blamed me for every strange happening, every dark omen that touched the town, long before I cast my first spell. When I found magic, I turned to it to survive. And if going forward that means dealing with demons like you, then that's what I'll have to do. Did they leave you nothing then? The demon asked. Did they spend every coin of gold, every bond of friendship they had before they went? Who? Asked the witch. Our parents, of course. I was certain they would have spent the years amassing wealth if nothing else. My parents, demon, are still alive. And they've made it quite clear they believed in the rumors about me being a witch, practically before anyone else. They want nothing to do with me. When I got pregnant out of wedlock, I was banished from the family. I suppose they were right, eventually. The demon jolted, as if struck. It slowly put the babe back on the altar, and tucked the blanket back over him. The demon walked right in front of Ursula, staring into her eyes like it was trying to weigh her soul. You came here for a pact, for power, so this is what's going to happen. I'll take Nicholas, back with me to hell. You will get power, that boost to your magic that will push you from a lesser witch, into something truly dangerous. Ursula forced herself to nod. This is what she came here for. Agreed. But the demon wasn't finished. Then you'll summon me again. Again? Here it came, Ursula knew. This was whatever scheme the demon had been building up to. Once you own the manor, or some other home where you can properly raise a child. Summon me and we'll talk about bringing him back. Back? I don't understand. I want to make sure you're serious about it, and actually ready to take care of my nephew. Otherwise, you'll just have to come visit me downstairs if you want to see him. So that's what you want, is it, demon? Either me in hell, or my parents? I suppose I have to kill them myself for it to count? No. Do you still not see it? How do you think our parents suddenly got wildly rich, became nobility, right after my disappearance? Why do you think they were eager to find someone, anyone to blame for magic happening around their lands? I told you, they brought those books on black magic with them from the start. Wait, you mean? Yes, Ursula, said Morgan, I truly am your brother. Our parents did this same ritual, 20 years ago with me instead of Nicholas. I never realized it before tonight, but going to live with Belandromic the Defiler instead of staying here meant that I was actually the lucky one. Bill's actually been a real father to me. Morgan. Something inside Ursula, some weight she hadn't realized she was still carrying, simply vanished. The moonlit night grew hazy, her eyes awash with sudden tears. She pulled him into a hug, and they stood there for a long time, siblings reunited at last. Eventually, almost hesitantly, Morgan let go, stepped back from his sister. She looked on in confusion as he picked up Nicholas from the altar, and handed him to her. I thought you were taking him? She asked. I am, he replied, in a few hours. I still need to deal with the whole reason I came here, why I answered this summoning in the first place. I wanted to know if our parents were still alive. You see, our parents' pact was me in hell in exchange for demonic power. And I'm not in hell right now at all. As an adopted demon in my own right, that sounds to me like an interesting scenario. I'm here to pay them a visit to discuss the matter. Morgan gave Ursula a wink, and began to walk away, leaving her and Nicholas by the crossroad altar. The blood-stained moonlight seemed to follow him into the darkness.